On this day in 1889, Charlie Chaplin was born, so let's have a look at this icon of film. His parents were music hall entertainers, and he lived his childhood in poverty, spending time in the workhouse like Oliver. He started out touring with a clog dancing troupe at the age of 9, because of course he did. He had given up on education by 13, as a lot of us have, and at 14 he registered with the West End Theatrical Agency. By the time he was 18, he was an accomplished comedic performer. He joined Fred Karno's prestigious comedy company and was sent to tour the North American vaudeville circuit. When on his second tour of America, he was asked to join the New York Motion Picture Company in 1914 at the age of 25 on $150 a week. He was so successful that by the end of the year, the S&A Film Manufacturing Company of Chicago were offering him $1,250 a week with a starting bonus of $10,000. That is good money now. And this was when his career really blew up. He created the character of the Tramp, which is the image that you have in your head when you think of Chaplin. He made 12 films with S&A, and when his contract was up, he joined the Mutual Film Corporation on $10,000 a week in 1915. That's £243,000 a week in today's money. Not bad for a workhouse kid who could well have found himself in the trenches if he'd have stayed back home in London, and he was criticised for not fighting in World War I, but he said he'd fight if they asked him to, and he'd volunteered for the US military, but neither side called him up, and fair dues. His output had slowed down whilst working for the Mutual Film Corporation, and they parted ways in 1918. They had wanted him to make more, but he wanted to focus on quality over quantity. So he built Charlie Chaplin Studios to give himself more agency over his work. He agreed to make 8 films for First National Exhibitors Circuit for $1 million. That is nearly £20 million today. After making just 2 films for First National, he asked for more money, which they refused, and then he tried to leave the contract early. But they made him make the remaining 6 films that he owed them. Making him work for his money. So unfair. After this, he joined forces with 3 other actors to form the United Artists so that they could distribute their own films, and this gave them more free rein over their work. Now, Charlie had been married a couple of times at this point. The first time was to a 16-year-old actress, Mildred Harris, when he was in his late 20s. They married because she claimed that she was pregnant, and this was untrue, but they did end up having a child together who unfortunately died at 3 days old, and the pair separated. He then discreetly married 16-year-old Lita Gray in very similar circumstances, only he was 35 this time, and even back then this was a crime. They had 2 children together, followed by a bitter divorce in 1926. His popularity began to decline in the 1940s. He was critical of capitalism, which didn't go down well. He also became publicly embroiled in yet more scandals. He was involved with young women as an older man. When he was in his early 50s, he was involved with 21-year-old Joan Barry, who filed a paternity suit against him. The FBI got involved, and he ended up in court for an alleged violation of the Mann Act, which prevents you from transporting women across state lines for sexual purposes. He got off charges because they were false, but it didn't do wonders for his image. When he was 54 years old, he married 18-year-old Una O'Neill, who he had met just 7 months earlier. They had 8 children together, and they stayed married until he died on Christmas Day 1977 at the age of 88 of a stroke. I guess he's one of those where you need to separate the art from the artist, isn't he really? Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Why not subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow.